Hi everybody. I decided today that it was time to talk about the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot film. They just did the 50-year reunion, and I guess Bob was asked to come to some event that someone else put on. And when it was time for Bob to speak, he was asked to sit down and not to speak. I don't know how that went off. It sounded like somebody told him to sit down and shut up, but I can't imagine that actually happening. There was digging right there. So I can't imagine that happening, but maybe it did. So then it goes on, and there were a couple things that people posted about. Now Bob Gimlin has said that he understands or thinks that it's a possibility that Patty could still be alive, the Bigfoot that he filmed, him and Roger, miraculously one day as they were out looking for a Bigfoot and happened to see one walk by. So here we are on the tracks again. So somebody, I guess, said that they had, somehow communicated with Patty's son, Bigfoot son, that's right, and somehow communicated with them and somehow let them know, or, see, this is the part that's really weird, is how does this Bigfoot know that his mother is Patty? How does Patty know that she's Patty? How does she know that the film that Roger took 50 years ago was actually filming her in the first place? Okay? So we have to give them some kind of supernatural powers. In other words, Patty has some other sense or sixth sense or seventh, eighth that gives her the ability to realize that was a camera and that it actually was taking film of her that would be shown on a screen later on somewhere. Okay, let's give this all the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, Bigfoot has superpowers, she knows it was a camera, and then somehow kept track of that over the next 50 years, where it was in the media, how it was doing, what people thought of it, and, never came forward herself to, say this was real. Here I am. So, but somehow, 50 years later, someone has been speaking with her son. Now, I can guess who it is. The all-seer of all things, and the guy that, wants to be the big star in the Bigfoot world, but is good buddies with Bob now. And anyways, when you do these things and you say, well, I've been communicating with this Bigfoot and it's Patty's son, it's another thing. It's one of these things, it's hard for me to explain, but humans have this way of thinking that everything should be human in the way that humans think. Like Bigfoot knew, somehow communicated and said, like, who are you? Oh, I'm Bobby Bigfoot, I'm son of Patty. Oh, really? Do you know Patty? We know Patty. How did they ask him this? They say there was a Bigfoot that was filmed 50 fucking years ago. Do you remember that? Does your mother remember that? And the Bigfoot said, yes. Oh, yes, that was my mother. How do you even communicate to this Bigfoot that, ask them the question if, do you know who Patty is? Oh, it's your mother. Oh, she's still alive. Oh, yes, she is. How does that even come up in a conversation? I mean, did Bigfoot know that, yes, my mother was famous? Someone filmed her 50 years ago. We've kept track of it over the years. Like we watch TV or we monitor the media. And we've seen now that it's even on the internet. how does this happen? And if it does happen, still giving them the benefit of the doubt that Bigfoot has some superpower and he can keep track of these things. Okay, here we go, battery. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Bigfoot knows these things, telepathy, knows that one of theirs was filmed 50 years ago and is in the media all the time, and that they named her Patty, and they related to this, and she's still alive, but she won't come forward, and that, somehow communicated to someone that she was still alive through her son. It's just does not make sense. Okay? Well, go ahead and believe it. If you want to. But it just doesn't make sense to me how they would know this, and even giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's just funny how people think, well, they would just know it. They've been keeping track of this with their superpowers, and they know that Patty's name is Patty, and we've named her Patty, and that she's, one Bigfoot that 1 million people have seen in videos and on the internet, and her son knows this, and we talked to him, and he said she was still alive. And whoever made this story up didn't think it through very well. And they just don't think it through. Do you understand can you understand what I'm saying? Is how would these Bigfoots know, even both of them, even giving them superpowers, they would know enough to communicate to someone and say, yes, Patty's still alive, but she doesn't want anybody to see her, and we want you to know that, and we'll tell it to people, so and see if they believe it. But you might not believe it, but you have to believe in us. But we're not going to show you that she's still alive. We're not going to walk out somewhere and show a bunch of people. We're just going to leave it as a big question mark. Is it real or isn't it? Well, I think that's kind of funky to actually believe that Patty's son is around and trying to communicate to people that Patty's still alive. I just think it's a little funky. It doesn't really make sense. If they wanted to communicate it, I think they do it another way. But it seems to come through people who want the attention. That's where this big, that's where the giant, things come in. These big awakenings and things through these funky people who want all the attention. They seem to get Isn't that funny how that goes? All right, what do you guys think? What do you think? Tell me.